There is a figure in almost every mythology on earth who is more dangerous than the war god, and nobody expects her. She is worshipped for her beauty. She is painted with flowers and doves, and in her own stories she is terrifying. One of them starts a 10-year war and burns a city down to its foundation stones over a single stolen wife. One of them walks down into the land of the dead and hangs there for 3 days as a corpse on a hook. One of them owns half of every warrior killed in battle. Half. Odin only receives whatever she chooses to leave behind. One of them was sent down to punish humanity and killed so many so quickly that the sun god himself begged her to stop. And when she would not stop, he flooded the fields with beer stained red to trick her into thinking that it was blood. These are not war goddesses. These are not death goddesses. Look at what each of them actually rules: beauty, desire, music, flowers, childbirth, the sweetness that makes life worth continuing at all. They are goddesses of love, every single one. And here is the part that should stop you cold. This is not one culture being strange. This is all of them. Greece, Rome, Sumer, Egypt, Scandinavia, the Valley of Mexico, West Africa, India, Etruria, peoples who never met and never traded a word, and they all arrived separately at the same unsettling idea that the goddess of love is not safe, that she is, in fact, the most frightening thing in the pantheon, that she stands beside a weapon, or a lion, or a corpse. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why they thought that. Because they were not being poetic, they were being accurate. Start with the one you think you already know. Aphrodite, sea-born, laughter-loving, the most beautiful thing the Greeks could imagine. And the Greeks told 2 completely different stories about where she came from. They never chose between them. Homer's version is simple. In the Iliad, she is a daughter of Zeus by a goddess called Dione, a child of Olympus. Hesiod's version is not simple at all. In the Theogony, she is older than Zeus, older than Olympus itself. In the beginning, the sky god Uranus pressed down upon the earth and refused to let his own children be born. So his son Kronos took up a great jagged sickle, and in the dark he unmade his father. What was cut away was thrown into the sea, and the sea did not swallow it. The water churned and widened. A pale foam gathered on the waves and spread and would not disperse. And out of that foam a goddess stood up, out of a wound, out of the ugliest act in all of Greek cosmology, and she came ashore at Cythera and then at Cyprus. And where she set her foot, the grass rose to meet her. Hesiod even builds her name from it, Aphros, foam. Understand what that story is telling you. Beauty does not descend from heaven. In Greece, beauty rises out of violence. She is also not originally Greek at all. Her name has no convincing Greek root. Her worship arrives from the east, through Cyprus, out of Phoenicia. She is the Greek daughter of an older goddess, and that older goddess was never gentle. Desire and war in one body from the very beginning. Greece inherited that, and you can still see it if you look. The traveler Pausanias walked into a temple in Sparta and found a wooden statue of Aphrodite, in armor, not as a metaphor, armed. He found the second armed Aphrodite on the island of Cythera, and a third on the heights above Corinth. They called her Aphrodite Aeria, Aphrodite the warlike. Her own title is built out of the name of Ares himself. She is married to Hephaestus, the crippled smith, but the god she actually loves is Ares, war, and the daughter the two of them have together is named Harmonia, harmony. love and war, and the child they make is order. That is not a joke the Greeks were making. That is a theology hidden inside a family tree. Then came a wedding where somebody forgot to invite strife, and strife threw a single golden apple down onto the table. On it was written, "To the fairest." 3 goddesses claimed it, and a mortal prince was made to choose between them. Hera offered him power. Athena offered him victory in war, and Aphrodite offered him the most beautiful woman alive. He took Aphrodite's offer, and the woman she had promised him was already married to a Greek king. What followed was 10 years of siege, 1,000 ships, and a great city burned down to the ground. Troy did not fall because of a war god. Troy fell because of the goddess of love. She kept her promise exactly. And the poet Sappho, who understood her better than any man did, called desire the limb melter, the thing that stops you standing. She coined a word for love that nobody has improved on since. Sweet bitter. Sweet first, bitter afterward. She knew the order. Then Rome took Aphrodite and did something even stranger with her. Venus began small and italic, a quiet spirit of gardens and cultivated fields. Then Rome fused her with Aphrodite and turned her into an instrument of the state. Pompey the Great built her a temple. He called her Venus Victrix, Venus, bringer of victory. Generals prayed to her before battle. The dictator Sulla credited her with all his luck. And Julius Caesar went further than any of them. He claimed the goddess of love as his own ancestor, because Aphrodite's mortal son was Aeneas. And Aeneas fled the burning of Troy and founded the line that became Rome. So Caesar raised a temple to Venus Genetrix, Venus the mother, ancestress of his own family and of the Roman people. The most militarized state in the ancient world traced its blood back to the goddess of love, and nobody in Rome found that strange. But to find the source of all of it, you have to go much further back and much further east. Sumer, the oldest cities on earth, and a goddess whose name in the oldest writing we possess is Inanna. Be careful here because this is where almost everyone gets it wrong. Inanna and Ishtar are not the same word. Inanna is Sumerian. Ishtar is Akkadian, a Semitic name. Scholars believe they began as 2 separate goddesses entirely. They fused over centuries as Akkad absorbed Sumer, and by the end, she is one figure carrying 2 different names. Her name likely means Lady of Heaven, and she is the planet Venus, the brightest thing in the sky after the moon, which explains everything about her. Because Venus appears twice, it is the morning star, and it is also the evening star. It vanishes for weeks, then rises again on the far side of the sky. 1 body, 2 lives, and a death in between. The Sumerians worshipped her exactly that way. Morning Inanna, evening Inanna, the same goddess in 2 irreconcilable moods, and her domains match it perfectly. She is love, she is desire, she is sex, and she is also war. Not war as a figure of speech. A hymn says that battle is her dance, and the clash of weapons is her music. Her symbols are an 8-pointed star, a rosette, and the lion. The lion is not decoration. And here is the detail people always miss. She is not a mother goddess. She is not a goddess of marriage. She is desire itself, unattached, unmarried to any of it, ungovernable, which brings us to her descent. This is the oldest surviving myth of any love goddess anywhere on this planet. For reasons the poem never fully explains, Inanna decides to go down, into the great below, the land of the dead. It is ruled by her older sister, Ereshkigal, a queen of dust and silence who has no love for her at all. Inanna dresses for it. She puts on the divine powers, a crown, beads at her throat, a measuring rod, a robe, and she leaves an order with her servant. If I do not come back within 3 days, go and beg the gods for me. She reaches the gate and demands entry. The gatekeeper is told to open it, but to open it only a little, because there are 7 gates, and at every single one of them they take something away from her. Her crown, her beads, the stones on her breast, her breastplate, her ring, her rod, and finally her robe. She asks why, and she is told only this: be silent, Inanna. The ways of the underworld are perfect. She enters the throne room of the dead with nothing at all, no power, no ornament, no protection whatsoever. Ereshkigal looks at her. The judges of the dead pass sentence, and her sister fixes upon her the eye of death. Inanna becomes a corpse, and the corpse is hung on a hook on a wall like meat, 3 days and 3 nights. The goddess of love, dead in the dark on a hook. Above, her servant does exactly as she was told. She goes to the great gods, and she begs. 2 of them refuse. But Enki, the god of wisdom and sweet water, scrapes the dirt from under his fingernails and shapes 2 small beings out of it. Creatures with no gender and no name that death knows how to recognize. They slip into the underworld like flies through a crack. They find Ereshkigal groaning in agony, and they do the one thing nobody has ever done for her. They pity her. They echo her cries back to her. Oh, your heart. Oh, your body. And the queen of the dead is so disarmed that she offers them a gift. They ask for the corpse on the hook. They sprinkle it with the food of life and the water of life, and Inanna stands up. But the underworld does not release anyone for free. The law is absolute. A life for a life. Demons follow her up into the sunlight to collect the substitute, and they offer her every single person she loves. Her sons, in mourning rags, sitting in the dust, weeping for her. No, she says, not him, and not him either. Then she comes home to her husband, the shepherd Dumuzi, and Dumuzi is not mourning her at all. He is sitting on her throne in fine robes, celebrating, and Inanna looks at him with the eye of death. Take him, she says, and they do. The goddess of love hands over her own husband to the demons. He runs, he is caught, and in the end his sister loves him enough to serve half of his sentence for him. So Dumuzi is below for half the year and above for half, and that is why the crops die and return. There is one more story. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, Ishtar looks down at the king of Uruk, and she wants him. Marry me, she says. And Gilgamesh does the thing that no man in that world would ever dare to do. He says no. And then he tells her exactly why. He lists her lovers, one by one, all of the ones who are broken now. The shepherd she turned into a wolf and set his own dogs onto. The gardener she turned into a mole. The lion she dug pits for. The stallion she gave the whip and the spur. Which of them, he asks, did you ever love forever? And Ishtar goes up into heaven, weeping with rage, and demands the bull of heaven from her father. Give it to me, she says, or I will break the doors of the underworld and let the dead come out and eat the living. She gets the bull. It kills hundreds of men before the heroes bring it down. And for that, Gilgamesh's dearest friend is sentenced to die. The love goddess was refused, once, and a man died for it. That is Mesopotamia. Now go north, into the cold. Freyja. And before anything else, we have to fix a mistake that almost everybody makes. Freyja is not Frigg. They are two different goddesses. People confuse them constantly, and it matters. Frigg is Odin's wife. She belongs to the Aesir. She knows every fate that is coming, and she says nothing. Freyja is not Odin's wife. She is not even Aesir. She is Vanir, an older and different family of gods. Now, scholars do argue that Frigg and Freyja might descend from a single earlier Germanic goddess who split into two. It is a real debate, and it is unresolved. But in the sources we actually have, they are distinct. Do not merge them. Freyja is the daughter of the sea god Ingjord. Her twin brother is Freyr, and her name means simply lady. She rides a chariot pulled by cats. She owns a cloak of falcon feathers that lets her fly. Love, beauty, desire, and gold are hers. And she wears the Brisingamen, the most famous necklace in the north, which she does not lend to anyone. And now the line that should stop you cold. It is in the Poetic Edda, in the poem called Grimnismal. Folkvang is the ninth realm, and there Freyja decides where the warriors will sit inside her hall. Half of the dead each day she chooses, and Odin has the other half. Read those two verbs again. Freyja chooses. Odin has. She picks. And he takes what she leaves behind. Every image you carry of Valhalla, of Odin gathering the glorious dead, is at best half of the truth. Half of every man who dies with a blade in his hand belongs to the goddess of love, to her hall, Sessrumnir, and no source ever explains why. Then there is her magic. Freyja is the mistress of Sidi, fate magic, the power to see what is coming and to bend it. And the Ynglinga saga says the Aesir did not have it. Freyja was the one who taught it to them, which means that Odin, the wisest being in the north, learned his most feared art from the goddess of love. And it cost him. For a man to practice side was thought shameful. He took the shame anyway. The power was worth it. Her husband Odin is missing. She travels the world under false names, searching, and when she weeps, her tears fall as red gold. And when a giant stole Thor's hammer and demanded Freyja as the price of returning it, she raged so hard the halls of the gods shook. The Brisingamen snapped clean off her throat. Sorceress, teacher of Odin, chooser of the slain, and absolutely, unmistakably not for sale. Now go south, to the Nile, because Egypt tells this story more plainly than anyone else on earth dares to. Hathor, cow-horned, sun-disked, golden. The Egyptians called her the Golden One, and they meant it warmly. She is music, she is dance, she is drunkenness and garlands and myrrh and joy. Her instrument is the sistrum, a rattle. Her mirror is a symbol of beauty and also of the sun. She is the patron of lovers, of mothers, of childbirth. The Greeks looked at her and said, "That is Aphrodite." And she is also the one who waits at the edge of the desert to greet you when you die. Mistress of the West being where the sun goes down, and where the dead go. The goddess of love meets you at the grave. To Egypt, that was not a contradiction, it was the entire point. But the real story is written on the walls of the royal tombs. It is called the Book of the Heavenly Cow. The sun god Ra has grown old. His bones are silver. His flesh is gold. His hair is dark blue lapis. And humanity, seeing that he is weak, begins to plot against him. So Ra calls the gods together and asks them what to do. "Send your eye," they tell him. "Send her down against them." The eye of Ra is not an organ. It is a goddess, the burning part of the sun given a body and a will. And in this text, the eye is Hathor, the gentle one, the golden one. He sends the goddess of love. She goes down into the desert, and she begins to kill, and she is very, very good at it. She does not tire. She does not stop. And somewhere in that fury, she takes another name, Sekhmet, the powerful one, lioness-headed and burning. The Egyptians said that the hot desert wind was her breath, that plague itself was her messenger. And here is the truly terrifying part. Sekhmet is not a different goddess. Sekhmet is Hathor, angry, the same being, love, and the lion inside one single body. And Egypt never once pretended that they were separate. Ra watches, and he changes his mind. Enough. He wants humanity to survive. He calls out to her, and she does not hear him. So Ra does not fight her. He cannot. Instead, he plays to the one thing she can no longer refuse. He orders his servants to brew beer, vats and vats of it, and to stain it red with ochre from the earth. They pour it out across the fields in the night, until the whole land is flooded, and it looks exactly like blood. At dawn she comes down to drink, and she drinks, and she cannot stop drinking, and she gets drunk, blindingly, helplessly drunk, and she forgets what she came down here to do. She lies down in the flooded field. And when she wakes, the rage is simply gone, and she is Hathor again, golden, laughing, gentle, as if nothing had happened. Humanity survived because the goddess of love got too drunk to finish the job. And the astonishing thing is what the Egyptians did with that story. They celebrated it every single year. The festival of drunkenness. Thousands of people drinking themselves unconscious in the temples with music deliberately as an act of worship. Because they understood something. The lioness is never gone. She is only sleeping. And every year you had better get her drunk again. Now cross an ocean to the Valley of Mexico, because the pattern holds there too. Xochiquetzal, her name means precious feather flower, and she is exactly what she sounds like. Flowers, beauty, pleasure, desire, patron of young mothers, of childbirth, of weavers, and of every craft that makes a thing lovely, and patron of luxury and of excess, of delight without apology. In the myths she is taken. Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, carries her off from her husband by force, and her worship was not gentle either. At her festival, a young woman was chosen to be her, not to play her, to be her. The Aztecs called such a person an ixipla, a living image of the god. She was dressed as the goddess. She was honored as the goddess, and at the end of the festival she was given to the knife as the goddess. And afterwards a priest took her place at the loom and wove. Beauty in the Aztec world was not decoration. Beauty was a debt, and the debt was paid in blood. Now something different, because not every love goddess is a killer, and the exception proves the rule. Oshun, an Orisha of the Yoruba people of West Africa, and she is not a myth, she is worshipped right now. In Nigeria, in Cuba where she is Ochun, in Brazil where she is Oxum, by millions of living people today. So we speak of her in the present tense, as her worshippers do. She is the owner of the sweet waters. The Osun River runs through the Nigerian city of Osogbo, and her sacred grove stands on its bank. Every August, enormous crowds come to it. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the festival has never stopped. She is love, beauty, fertility, prosperity, divination, diplomacy. Her color is yellow, her metal is brass, her offerings are honey and sweet things. She is generous. She is, above all, the one who says yes. And then there is the story of the 17. Olodumare, the supreme being, sends the Orishas down to shape the world. 16 of them are male, one of them is Oshun, and the 16 do not consult her. They do not think that they need to, so they work, and nothing takes. Nothing grows, no rain falls. The earth will not accept anything they build, so they return and ask what has gone wrong. And Olodumare asks them a single question: where is Oshun? And they understand. They go to her, and they ask her properly. And only then does the world begin to live. Notice the shape of that. Oshun does not kill anybody. She does not need to. Her power is the power to withhold. The sweet water is not a gift, it is a permission, and she can take it back. That is the same lesson as the lioness, told gently. The thing that makes life can also simply refuse to. India tells it a third way, and the third way is the most direct of them all. Kamadeva is the god of desire. He carries a bow made of sugarcane, strung with a line of living honeybees, and he shoots arrows made of flowers, 5 of them, each one causing a different kind of longing. His wife is Rati, and Rati is not decoration. Her name means passion. She is desire itself, given a body. Then the gods make one request, and it destroys them both. The great ascetic Shiva is sitting in meditation. He has been sitting for ages, and the world needs him to wake and to love the goddess Parvati. So the gods send Kamadeva, interrupt him, make him fall in love, shoot the god of destruction with a flower. And Kamadeva, terrified, obeys. He draws the sugarcane bow. He lets the arrow go. Shiva feels it, and Shiva opens the third eye. There is a flash of fire, and where the god of desire had been standing, there is only ash on the ground. Rati falls into the ashes of her husband, and she grieves so terribly that the gods finally relent. Shiva agrees to bring him back, but not all the way back. Kamadeva returns without a body, Ananga, the bodiless one, and that is a stunning piece of theology. Desire, from that day forward, has no shape that you can actually see. It is still here, it still strikes you, but you can never point at it and say, there, that is the thing that did this to me. And notice how the marriage finally happens. Parvati does not win Shiva with an arrow. She wins him by sitting down in the cold and burning through years of austerity until he cannot ignore her any longer. And Parvati is not a soft goddess either. When the world needs saving, she becomes Durga, and Durga becomes Kali, the black goddess with the garland of skulls dancing on a battlefield, the devoted wife, the loving mother, the demon slayer, the destroyer. Hinduism says it plainly, where the Greeks only implied it. She is not several goddesses. She is one being with many faces. One more, and she is almost forgotten. Turan. She belonged to the Etruscans. The people Rome conquered and absorbed until their language died out entirely. Turan is their goddess of love, fertility, and vitality, the patron of the city of Volchi. She is engraved on the backs of bronze hand mirrors, young and beautiful, and she has wings. Her name is barely a name at all. It seems to mean simply lady, mistress, the one in charge. Her sacred birds are the dove, the goose, and above all, the swan. Her beloved is Atunus, the Etruscan Adonis, and in some depictions she stands beside Laran, the Etruscan god of war. There it is again. Even in a dead language, on the back of a hand mirror, love is standing next to war, and she did not entirely die. In Italian folklore, centuries later, there is a fairy named Tirana who grants love and happiness, which is all that was left of a goddess after 2,000 years of sanding down her edges. So, 9 traditions, 4 continents, thousands of years, and the same shape over and over and over again. That cannot be a coincidence. So what is the answer? There are 4 of them, and they stack. The first is the simplest and the most honest. Desire is not gentle. Ask anyone who has actually been in love. Really in it. It does not feel like a greeting card. It feels like an assault. It arrives without permission. It ruins your sleep, your judgment, your plans, and your peace. The Greeks did not call that a warm feeling. They called it an arrow, a fire, a madness sent down by a god. Sappho called it the limb melter. Not because it was pretty, because she could not stand up. Ancient people personified what love actually feels like from the inside. And from the inside, it is dangerous. We are the strange ones for pretending otherwise. The second reason is deeper, and it is about the body. Fertility is not one power. Fertility is a hinge. The same force that opens the womb opens the grave. What quickens also rots. Nothing grows unless something else dies. A goddess who governs the beginning of life is standing in a doorway, and doorways go both ways. So Hathor greets the dead in the west. So Inanna goes down and hangs on the hook. So Freyja keeps half of the fallen. They are not switching jobs. They were always goddesses of the threshold. We simply prefer to stand on one side of it. The third reason is political, and the ancients were entirely blunt about it. Desire moves history. A prince wants a queen who is not his, and 10,000 men die beneath the walls of Troy. A king refuses a goddess, and a bull falls out of the sky, and his best friend is sentenced to death. And when Caesar needed a divine ancestor to justify an empire, he did not choose the god of war. He chose Venus. Because Rome understood that desire is the engine underneath war. Wanting comes first. The sword only comes afterward. And the fourth reason is about power. Look again at who these goddesses actually are. Inanna is unmarried, unmothered, and ungovernable. Freyja outranks Odin in her own domain and taught him his own magic. Sekhmet cannot be commanded, even by the god who sent her. Oshun brings all of creation to a halt by folding her arms. And in societies that controlled women almost completely, that is, the single most frightening thing anyone could possibly imagine. The love goddess is where the ancient world put everything about desire that it could not tame. So the last question is this: what happened to her? Because the figure we have now is a cherub with a toy bow. Rome softened her first, then the poets, then courtly love, then the greeting card. We kept the beauty, and we threw away the lion. We kept the foam, and we forgot the sickle in the sea. But the older telling is not less true. It is more true. It simply does not sell flowers in February. Aphrodite rose out of a wound. Ishtar hung on a hook in the dark. Freyja walks a battlefield, choosing bodies. Hathor drank a lake of red beer to stop herself. And Kamadeva was burned to ash for firing one single flower. Every civilization that seriously imagined love as a person imagined someone that you should be very careful with. They were not warning you away from love. They were telling you honestly what it costs. The goddess of love has never been safe, not once, in any language, in any century, on any continent, and every culture that ever knelt to her knew exactly what it was kneeling to.